As you can see, I've bought a new game. It's Gottlieb's Rack 'em Up. It's from 1983 and it's one of their System 80 games. Well, technically it's a System 80A game, but that doesn't matter. And Gottlieb's System 80 games are not known because of their reliability. Actually, they're known because they have grounding problems. And in this video I will show you how to solve these grounding problems and how to take care of the orange capacitor that's inside the cabinet of this game. And so you can fix your own System 80 game if you have one. Okay, first let's check out which boards are actually inside the game. The first one is the MPU, and the MPU is arguably the most important board inside the game because it contains the game's programming. The second board, this one, is the driver board, and it makes sure that the coils fire. This one, the third board, is the voltage regulator, and the voltage regulator makes sure the correct voltages go throughout the game, which is important because a pinball game contains a lot of different voltages. And the last one, this is the sound board, and it's, well, the name speaks for itself. Now, the main problem of these early solid-state Gottliebs is that the grounding wire goes through all the boards. Connectors to make a good ground connection, and that is the weak spot. So what we will do is make ground connections that are solid, are made of wire, and don't go through connectors. Now, the procedure I'm following is almost the same as told on flippers.com, but with a little difference. On flippers.com they tell you to sand off this insulation and use this grounding board of the voltage regulator as the main grounding board. I'm not going to do that. But for the first connection I am going to sand some of the insulation away to make a good connection between this part and this part. So I've got some sanding paper and I'm just going to sand some of this away. There. As you can see, I've sanded the insulation away and it's now the clear metal, so I can add the ground wire to it. And of course I know that the official color for grounding wire is yellow and green, but I figured I didn't have any yellow and green left, and well, the back box is going to be closed when I play the game, so, and well, you only live once, right? So, that's for the connection right here, and I've added this eye, and I'm going to attach that later on when I put the board back in. Note that I've also made a wire for the connection from here to the grounding strap. Next up is the MPU, and on the MPU I will add a slightly longer wire to the negative lead of the capacitor. Like that. Now for the soundboard I will add a wire, this wire, to the banded side of the lower two diodes, and of course on the back side of the board, so that will be right here. There you go. Now if I had a game that used a more elaborate sound and speech board, this one with the separate regulator, I would have added the ground wire right here. It's the second pin to your right, and according to the schematics it's called pin 5. And for the separate regulator board I would have added a ground wire right here. Okay, and now to the solenoid driver board. This one's a little bit more difficult because you have to add the wire on the board. I will add the wire right here. I hope you can see it. And as you can see, I've sanded off a bit of the insulation, so I can go to the bare metal. Please be careful when you do that, because you want to sand off the insulation but not the metal itself. And I will add this wire also with an eye on one side. Well, as you can see here, I have added the wire. Please do make sure that the wire does not touch any of the other components, because otherwise you might get a short circuit and components may die. So be careful. There's one more board that some Gottlieb System 80s have, like Black Hole, Volcano, Spirit and Mars God of War. All the games with the chaser light, they have a separate chaser light board. And you can also add a ground wire on that. And my advice would be to put it right here on the second pin where I'm pointing the pencil. Now there's one more thing. This is the interboard connector. It goes between the MPU and the solenoid driver board. And my advice would be to add 2 wires to this connector, which would be an extra ground wire. Normally there's just one here. I've added the black one right here. As you can see, it goes to the other connector. And also add an extra 5-volt wire, which is the yellow one I've added right here. And it goes here. I've got the boards back in the game. I've made sure that the mounting plate of the voltage regulator is also grounded, and the next step for me now is to take some tie wrap and make sure that the wires are tied neatly together so it won't look like a mess when you open up the back box. Next step is to find a place where to put the wires together. This System 80A game has a ground strap in the back box, and I will tie all these connectors to the ground strap in the back box. Please note that not all System 80 games have this ground strap, so on some games you might have to just tie these together with a screw and add a wire that goes into the grounding plate in the cabinet. Well, as you can see, I've now mounted all the connections together onto the grounding strap. It's important to make sure that this grounding strap does actually have a connection with the grounding plate inside the cabinet. What's important right now is this plate. This is the grounding plate, and it might be in a slightly different place depending on what System 80 game you have. The important thing is that there's continuity between the grounding plate and the connection in the back box we've just made. So let's check out with our multimeter if that's the case. It beeps, 0 resistance, so that looks good. One thing you definitely have to do when you're restoring a System 80 game is replace these capacitors. Some games have 2 of these, like this game. Some games just have 1, but no matter what, replace them before you turn the game on. They are bad. The originals are 6800 microfarads and 25 volts. I'm replacing them both with one capacitor of 10,000 microfarads and 35 volts. That's enough for the game. Also make sure that the green wire, this one, is supposed to go to the minus and the other one is the plus. So green is minus. There you go. This is what the new capacitor looks like in its place. That sounds good. Check it out, the digits work, the drop targets popped up. Seems the game's working, or at least the basics are, because if you look closely, just 2 of the lights in the back box work. It seems like the machine has been used as a lamp for a couple of years. Well, still a lot of work to do. I hope you enjoyed the video, and maybe see you next time.